What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today, Act 2 of Episode Revenant for Destiny 2 has just gone live, and with it came 3 brand new weapons. Well, 2 brand new weapons, 1 reprised weapon, that's beside the point. In this video, we're going to be showcasing what is, in my opinion, the most hype and the best overall PvE weapon out of these 3. This thing has some unbelievably good god rolls and is perfect for certain builds. This will be a game changer for a lot of people's accounts, and so let's get started. Now, the weapon in question is going to be the Noxious Vetiver, I guess? Now, this is a precision frame 600 rounds per minute arc SMG. And what do you want in terms of a god roll? Well, by far, in my opinion, the perk you need to have. If you don't have this, just chuck it in the trash, get some glimmer. That perk is going to be Jolting Feedback. Now, this is a very new perk. It was just added to the game within Episode Revenant, and it says, dealing repeated damage with this weapon inflicts Jolt at an increased rate. It's enhanced, and while amplified, Jolt is applied faster. So, we already know Volt Shot was an extremely good perk for arc weapons, right? Just being able to get those consistent jolts out there. Jolt is a very, very powerful effect, right? It turns your damage into AoE, like shocks a bunch of nearby guys. If you're in low-level content, you can decimate an entire room of enemies with just 1 Jolt activation. Not to mention, against more powerful enemies, Jolt will activate itself from continuous damage, and on top of that, enemies that are jolted will take more damage. So Jolt is great. And finally, with Jolting Feedback, we have something that is better and more beneficial for full auto weapons. The problem with Volt Shot was having to reload after a final blow. With certain weapons, no problem, right? But if you have something like this SMG or like an auto rifle or even a machine gun, you don't want to be reloading all the time halfway through the magazine, or sometimes even less. But with Jolting Feedback, you can use these full auto weapons, again, like a precision frame SMG, play completely normally, and you're going to be jolting so many different enemies, especially because of how Jolting Feedback actually works in-game. First of all, you can trigger it in kind of 2 different ways. You can shoot the same big enemy a bunch of times, and then you will just get that jolt effect, and that jolt effect seemed to activate around 17 rounds into the magazine, and that was with enhanced Jolting Feedback, I should say. Or you can shoot a bunch of different enemies. Jolting Feedback simply counts how many shots you have hit enemies with, and you don't even have to hit them within a certain time frame. As you can see from this clip, I'm trying to activate Jolting Feedback. I don't quite get it on these enemies out here. I actually go all the way into this lost sector, enter a new load zone, and like the first enemy I shoot activates Jolting Feedback. So it saves like the information of how many enemies I've shot from, again, a completely different load zone a while ago. And so again, it's just so consistent in triggering Jolting Feedback. Now, there's also the part about when you're amplified, you're going to trigger this more often. In my experience, instead of the 17 rounds to jolt it would take normally, it went down to around 14, right? So not an insane difference, but hey, it's just going to be better. And I mean, you just need arc kills to gain amplified. And this is going to let you get quite a lot of arc kills very easily. Don't worry about that. So essentially, Jolting Feedback is definitely in full auto weapons, and arguably just overall better and more consistent than Volt Shot. Again, it really does depend on the weapon, but my goodness, you just get so many jolts without having to think about it, without having to put on loader mods or anything like that, and without having to get those final blows. That is actually a pretty big requirement. And actually, that means without having to require the final blow to jolt, like Volt Shot, Jolting Feedback is really good against more powerful enemies, right? You can see right here, I'm shooting this Lost Sector boss, just kind of experimenting with it, and I am jolting, I'm shocking all these random nearby red bars that are just running by. So I'm completely focused on the boss, right? And it's a boss in this example, but it could be a champion, it could be anything more powerful. You're focusing down the more powerful threat, and then all these other random nearby enemies are just getting killed, which is perfect. You don't have to take your attention off the imminent threat, the most powerful guy. You can focus down that guy and still kill all those trash mobs around them. And again, like I said earlier in the video, Jolt's effect on more powerful targets is really, really good. They are going to take more incoming damage because they're jolted, right? So just shooting a mag of your Noxious Vetiver into a boss to get that initial jolt, then switching to a heavy is a great idea. Like having this easily of a way to apply jolt to a more powerful enemy is really, really good. Whereas with Volt Shot, you would need to find a certain red bar, kill that guy, reload, and then apply the jolt to the boss. Not every boss fight is going to allow you to do that. There's some boss fights where there's no easily killable nearby other enemies, right? So definitely you have some really interesting stuff that you can do with jolting feedback against more powerful targets. Now, we've talked a lot about jolting feedback, and that is really the main thing. Like, it is a brand new perk this season. It's incredibly good. It's incredibly good on full auto weapons, and there's only one other full auto weapon that can get it, and that's the auto rifle from the new dungeon, right? So if you didn't buy the dungeon key, if you weren't able to farm the crap out of the new dungeon, this is going to be so much more achievable for the vast majority of players out there to get a full auto weapon with jolting feedback. Now, but what do you pair with it? Well, in this role, we have the incredible Attrition Orbs, where dealing sustained damage creates orbs of power. And this perk has shot up in value recently. People have kind of slept on this for a while, but it's just so amazing having a perk like this in the left column. It's not taking away from the star of the show, jolting feedback, and now you're just spawning way more orbs of power than usual. You don't need to use an Arc Siphon helmet mod, right? And that's going to constantly get you armor charged. It's going to provide a massive amount of healing if you have the right leg armor mods on. It's just a great overall perk. Now, the thing I wanted to see about Attrition Orbs is that will it get extra triggers from the jolt? Well, as you can see here, it doesn't really seem like it. You can see I jolt like a bunch of nearby enemies and I'll maybe still only get like one orb. It's not quite as absurd as what stuff like the Versus Velocity Baton and the Area Denial Frame grenade launchers are capable of doing with Attrition Orbs. It's still a great perk to have here, but there are actually some alternatives. So taking a look at the perks this SMG can actually get. First off, in that right column, you gotta go with jolting feedback. It is just so good, and it really makes this weapon unique. There's not many weapons that have it. There are some other good perks here. Frenzy's good. Redirection is really interesting. You know, Rampage, not bad, but jolting feedback is just so incredible here. In the left column, however, things get a little interesting. So you do actually have Loose Change, which was buffed recently. So if you can get those elemental debuffs, which Jolt is one of them, right? You are going to reload significantly faster and get a bunch of other benefits. So that's a consideration. You also have Pugilist. You're getting a ton of kills with this weapon, especially with the jolts and stuff. Converting that to melee energy could be very useful. But then you actually do have Unrelenting. Now, this is going to heal you for killing 3 red bars, right? Every 3 red bars you kill, you're going to be healed. And if you kill a yellow bar, you're going to be healed instantly. With jolting feedback, this could be crazy easy to activate. Like, the amount of healing you're going to get here might actually be insane. And that might kind of outpace the benefit you're getting from Attrition Orbs. Like, I really think there's an argument for a bunch of different combos here. Right, like some builds are going to want Pugilist for the melee, some builds are going to want the healing, some builds are going to want the orbs, but every build is going to want the jolting feedback, and that's what I was talking about earlier in the video. There's some builds that really, really want this, and first one that comes to mind and what I was playing in the background gameplay is going to be one with the Gifted Conviction Exotic Chess Piece. This gives you damage resistance when you jolt targets. So, is there any easier way to get damage resistance in the game, frankly? I mean, you just close your eyes, you hold down the trigger with your new SMG, you're going to be jolting everything out there, and you're going to be getting a ton of damage resistance. Like, just an incredible combo with this weapon. Again, this build kind of got a resurgence because of jolting feedback being available on the dungeon AR, but it's very hard to farm for. So again, a lot of people are now going to be able to really boost this build, and any build that wants arc damage, wants jolts with this new SMG. It is just going to slot in perfectly to a lot of different builds that want the jolts. Guys, that is going to be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.